Today's episode of Monkey Business on the Monkey Sports Podcast is brought to you by none other than Lacrosse Monkey. Next time you need any lacrosse equipment, lacrosse season is coming up. We're closing in on it. Go to lacrossemonkey.com, promo code podcast10. That's PODCAST, the number 10, 10% off your entire order at lacrossemonkey.com. Get your cleats, get your sticks, restring those heads, get ready for the fall season. It's going to be here sooner than you know it. Head to lacrossemonkey.com, promo code podcast10. Lots to talk about on Monkey Business today. Let's jump right into it.
What's the name of this podcast again?
Clean win by Costabile. Charging toward the net. He scores! It is a story.
Alrighty, welcome to a big-time Monkey Business episode. Lots of news going on. MLL's coming back. PLL is coming back. It is officially July. Time has been flying while we've been stuck at home doing our own thing. We've got a COVID responsible podcast today. We got Hank over the Skype call. Hank, before we jump into everything, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm in the mysterious bat cave somewhere across the United States and working from home a little bit and just reading all the news lately. Lots of lacrosse news this week.
You're just locked away with the lacrosse news. We had to jump in. We were talking to a few players, trying to get them on this week. Nothing materialized, but there's just so much to talk about that I think that we will more than cover it all in today's episode. So, first of all, before we get into the breaking news, it's officially July. PLL has been saying for weeks now they're coming back. We know the championship series. What are your thoughts on their 16-day season that they're going to play here coming soon?
I mean, I'm excited for the PLO World Cup kind of strategy. I think it's going to be fun for sure. A little worried about the whole 7 teams thing. I think the math on that's going to be weird on who gets knocked out and the round robin aspect of it all. But, you know, lacrosse is always fun, and it's fun to see those guys get a chance to play. And, you know, they shorten the rosters. So if you love star players and you like big-time players, you're going to get a lot of them because there's only, 22 guys per team now?
I think so, yeah. So to go off of right there, like 12 games or whatever, 10 games in 16 days is a lot of lacrosse. Yeah. And if you're only going to go with 22 guys, like we had less than that amount or about that amount when I was in high school, and like games once a week was tough. I can't imagine 10 of them.
Yeah, and then the pace is quicker, and the field's a little smaller, so it's a little more up and down. So, I mean, I'm worried about injuries for sure. That was my instant reaction, was like, if you lose a couple poles, you're down to 3 long poles, and you're playing with 2 shorties on a man down, which sucks. So, who knows, man?
And like, obviously, these guys are, professional athletes and like take care of themselves, and I think the PLL model has given them more of an opportunity to do that because they're not working a day job. A decent majority of them aren't having to work a day job. But yeah, still, like, I mean, fatigue, if not injury, like fatigue is going to play a huge role, I feel like, towards the end of pool play and, early rounds of the tournament.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's going to be a tough turnaround. That's a lot of lacrosse to play. I mean, even if you are familiar with like club and travel lacrosse where you're playing like 4 or 5 games in a weekend, those are only hour-long games, and those are grueling. You know what I mean? So take that and extrapolate it out to like 16 days with 10 games. It's a similar setup, and it's going to be tough on their bodies for sure.
Who do you think is going to be at the most advantageous or has the most advantage in this short season?
Like just specific teams or like
teams or players, either one.
I mean, that's been the argument with the NBA is the younger teams are going to do better because they can turn around and they can get back. But I mean, the counter to that is the guys that are older and that have been playing for a while know how to get their bodies back quicker as well. Like they're not going to be drinking beer and partying with their friends in the bubble. They're going to be doing their best to lock it down, ice bath, do all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be team to team and culture to culture. Like if you've got a team of guys that just want to party and hang out, like they're probably going to get banged up more than a team that's just going to like lock it down, just play lacrosse, then go play FIFA and go to bed every night. You know what I mean?
I mean, you think there's going to be a lot of tomfoolery going on in the bubble?
So much just ridiculousness.
Really?
I think because for a lot of the time, lacrosse guys are partiers, man, like just straight up, especially those NCAA guys that are at the Div 1 schools. And like they haven't been in like a college atmosphere since they were like 22, 23 years old. Like I think the bad habits are going to come out a little bit. I think these guys are going to get a little loose and have a little fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. The lacrosse has that stigma obviously around it, but I don't know. I think these guys are going to lock it up. I think too, like, especially what the PLL is trying to do is legitimize themselves with a lot of this stuff. Not that they hadn't the year prior, but I think this is like the, hey, don't forget about us, we're still playing sports kind of thing. So I don't know. I feel like
Twitter page on ESPN, every time they tweet what's coming back, they're like, oh, Lacrosse too. It's like, relax, people.
Yeah. But like along that vein, I could see like Paulie locking him up, being like, hey, like nobody do anything stupid. Like how bad would it be if you get, a player gets arrested or some dumb thing happens like during this? I mean, it's not like they're in the middle of nowhere, sure, but it's not like they're in the middle of nowhere, you know?
I'm just saying, man, those old habits, those old college habits, those die hard, man. Like when those guys get together a lot of the times, like for alumni games and stuff, like the partying is nuts. So I think there's going to be a little bit of it. I don't think it's going to be a complete frat house, but I think it's going to be a little wild.
Yeah, but they're not making their livelihood in an alumni game, you know? If this is people's full-time jobs, and I mean, we don't even know what salaries are doing for this season, if they're doing prorated or what, but I don't know. I think that it will be a lot more tame than we definitely won't see any of what it's going to be like, but I think it'll be pretty tame.
That'd be sweet.
If the the PLL is backwards, man, because all this argument in the past couple of years have been like, oh, lacrosse is like not this frat stereotype, like we're not what you think we are, you know, all this stuff. But then they go out and one of their title sponsors is Vineyard Vines. So it's like,
yeah, I mean,
pick the avenue you want to take, right? If you want to get these kids excited about like, hey, this is fun, like look at all these, you know, wild, crazy partiers that play it, like then turn into the skit, but don't play both sides.
No, I mean that's something they've struggled with, right? It's like we're a media company. It's like they don't focus on the lacrosse enough a lot of the time. That's the thing that gets you the diehards for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be curious to see definitely what they do. But yeah, kind of going back to your point of like the younger teams, like yeah, it would have to be, you'd think, other than the few guys. I mean, Zach Courier is the first guy that comes to mind as far as just like workhorse, like not going to leave the field, but at the same time, he's what, our age, 25?
Yeah, I mean, who's not young though in the PLL? Like, there's a couple guys in their 30s, but there's not like a 37-year-old. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's a young league.
Is Brody Merrill still in the league? He would be my only guess as far as
I think
guys that are
he pulled
over
out. I think
35.
a lot of those guys bailed.
What's Paul nowadays?
He's got to be
mid-30s,
32, yeah.
Kyle Harrison's no spring chicken. He had CLH2 highlights circulating at one point.
LXM tour, baby.
Shout out. That was what, 2011? So I don't know. I'm excited though, for sure. But that gets us into the next piece of exciting news. The even shorter, even more chaotic
Dude, I'm so excited
Major League Lacrosse season.
Hammerheads for life, baby.
R.I.P. the Rattlers. Hammerheads for life for sure. But 1 week. 1 week. Training camp to championship.
So
1 week.
Awesome.
So you want to talk about a turnaround. I don't know.
Dude, is John Grant Jr. going to survive? Friend of the podcast? Like, is he going to be all right?
Literally, that's what I was going to bring up. We talked to one of the guys we were going to try to get on towards the end of the month. Also, side tangent. So since it's just Hank and I going off about it this week, end of the month, we're going to bring you an MLL player and a PLL player to go over their shortened seasons where we're going to cover everything. Those will be big episodes. So stick with us. We're going to go back-to-back weeks of the Monkey Business podcast. So we're getting all that figured out. But yeah, we had Chris Islanian as one of the guys that we were talking to trying to get on. He was a rookie for the Outlaws last year, and that was kind of my first thoughts. Like, first question is going to be like, hey, no disrespect to the GOAT and to friend of the program, but like John Grant Jr. was just telling us last month he doesn't know how much he's going to survive a season anyway, and now they're going to tell him, hey, here's 7 games in 8 days or whatever insanity it is.
Dude, it's so nuts. The MLL is crazy. And, like, they haven't said anything for essentially, 3 months? Like, whenever they shut it down, they didn't say a word on social media. They're like, here's some new jerseys. Lyle Thompson signed. Like, that's literally all they said for, 3 months. And then this morning, they're just like, we are playing a full season in a week. It's on ESPN. Dude, get excited. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, everyone seems pretty stoked about it, though.
Dude, I'm
Me
so
included.
Excited. I'm so excited.
So going off of that, I mean, we called it. We said put these guys out at Navy. They're going to be out in Annapolis, middle of nowhere. I mean, not middle of nowhere, but secluded spot, playing lacrosse. That's where I think you see more of the kind of young lacrosse player style, right? Like the MLL, all those guys are Div 3 kids that are 22, you know, that are just coming
rookies, up. Yeah, a couple guys that just came out like Krause and those guys, so we'll see.
Yeah, we need to try to get a rookie on for sure, or like a second-year guy. That's why, like, hopefully we get Islanian on here in a couple weeks, because second year in the league, not knowing if he's going to play, like, I'm curious how much these guys have even been training, how much you even can train.
Yeah, I mean, you can shoot around in your backyard and stuff, but you're not dodging one-on-one a lot of the time.
Right. And like, yeah, if you're a guy like John Grant Jr., who's like he was saying, he needs chiropractors and physical trainers and all these people that can help him get his body to full. Like, I'm curious to see just how much infrastructure is going to be out at both leagues.
Yeah, I think the MLL is just going to be crazy. I think if you want to talk about injuries, that's the one to talk about because it's like such a short time, so many games. Like that's more of the, sort of the summer club ball setup, and we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting for sure. I'm a little more excited about the MLL now just because it just dropped out of nowhere, and it's coming before the PLL, which is cool. I don't know.
It's like during.
Is it? I thought it was like the week before.
No, the PLL I think starts like July 16th and then runs through like August 5th, something like that. Maybe somebody maybe fact check me on those dates, but it's around then. And the MLL is like in the middle of it. It's like the 20th through the 26th or something crazy.
It's so awesome. They're just like, yeah, we're back, boys. Like, deal with it.
Yeah. I don't know. I am like holding on to so much hope that there will be some merger in the future, and it's like lacrosse will be this mainstream sport. But then stuff like this, it's like we've never been further apart, have we?
I mean, does it need to be mainstream though? That's always been my thing. Like, is tennis mainstream? Like, no, tennis is relevant for like what, a couple weeks out of the year at the majors. Like, do we need to be relevant? Do we need to be big time? Like, I don't know.
Lacrosse is in a unique position though, because it's like tennis, you make the international argument, and like, sports that aren't big in the States, hockey maybe is another good one. It's like, that's fine because it's so big everywhere else. But like lacrosse is really only in the U.S. for the most part. U.S. and Canada, yeah. But I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm on team mainstream 100%.
I think the problem with the mainstream is it's so far behind from an infrastructure standpoint and from just like a reachability standpoint, right? Because I think people see it and like, oh, that's cool, but it's complex, right? It's like football. It's got too many rules. It's got too much going on. The ball's hard to see. So I think it's almost better to stay niche, build up a really good base, and then like maybe slowly start to eke it forward. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like every spring lacrosse and baseball. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but when do you turn that corner, right? Like it felt like PLL announcing its existence is kind of that next step to turning the corner. So is that 5 years? Is that 50 years? Like, I agree that it's niche and it's tough to maybe understand or jump into, and it's not the most accessible sport, but at some point it has to become that. And I don't know what really realistically is being done to do that, other than a bunch of people tweeting grow the game.
I mean, for sure, and I think social media only gets you so far. I mean, what was it, 2010 when the game just like took off out of nowhere, and like since then we've kind of like plateaued a little bit. It's kind of stagnated after all that. So maybe it's hit its limit for now on player base, but maybe player engagement past playing like 20 years old might go up, and as those guys get older and those girls get older, they have kids, you know what I mean? Like the cycle sort of starts over again. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we're in a good spot as far as like you and I and our age being kind of fresh college graduates, because now again, you and I are both a good example. Now we're turning back and like coaching the game, right, and trying to get people into it. And I've kind of wanted to have this conversation for our entirety of doing this podcast, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity now. But like, grow the game, like the grow the game movement, maybe, or just term, is something that I really go back and forth about a lot, because at face value, grow the game is like get sticks in kids' hands, find areas that it's not big, try to make it a thing there. And that's great. And I think people absolutely should be doing that. And I think there are places that you've seen that, like my hometown in Austin, lacrosse wasn't a thing until middle school. And now there's a lot of programs that are, starting to put together talent. And I think that's a good example of grow the game. But like the flip side of that is it seems just such like a political statement's not the right term to use, but it just seems like kind of a go word, right? Like, oh, grow the game. People are like, yep, he's about it. So I don't know. I don't maybe am not making a point here necessarily, but I mean, curious to see kind of where you stand on that.
On the flip side, I think the real way you actually like increase engagement and increase how to, get the game past where it's at right now, where it's the Chads and the Brads, is you have to make this game accessible from an equipment standpoint and from an infrastructure standpoint, right? So a lacrosse helmet, just as is going to be anywhere from $150 to $300, right? That's crazy. In a football program, that helmet already exists a lot of the times. It's within a club program. It's something that you can borrow for a year or two, and then it goes back to the program. A lacrosse head can be $90 to get it strung. It's going to cost you about $150 total. Like that sort of stuff should exist in more of a public sphere and more of a communal sphere, and then that stuff can be used and reused by other players. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the ultimate way to keep it going. The problem is you have to buy all this stuff on your own, and then after a couple of years you grow out of it and you have to drop another $500 on gear. Like it's a tough cycle.
Yeah, and maybe it's tough for us. I agree. Like it definitely should be communal, but maybe it's tougher for us to see because we didn't play for programs that were school sponsored, and like it's not a state sponsored, school sponsored sport here in Texas. But yeah, that community aspect's like a perfect example. And to go to your point of it's people trying to sell more stuff, that's why like it kind of almost makes me uncomfortable in the role that we're in to say like, oh, grow the game. And it's something that like I want to do personally, helping kids get equipment and stuff and like making it as easy as possible. But yeah, I mean, it is such a, like, again, like a go word of, hey, grow the game. We're these huge lacrosse supporters. Yeah. Here's a $200 lacrosse head to buy.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, that's something I've started doing this year where I've just started stringing kids' heads for free because it's just a little thing. It's $20, $30. It saves you. But, as a family, that really helps you out because you've got a couple kids playing. That's $60 to $80 a year you're not having to spend on lacrosse that you can spend on something else. So, it's just little stuff like that has to happen.
And, like, I have always tried to, like, have extra gear around, or if I had extra gear, just to let someone use it or let someone have it. Like any friend that was trying to get into the sport, hey, I've got some gloves for you. Don't worry about it. Keep them. Just because it's like, if that's the little thing that I can do personally, yeah, like stringing a head or something, like that at least gets someone engaged for a little bit. And I think that like I have enough of a passion for the sport, and I think that people that play it will have that too, that if you get into it, you're sold, right? If you have the right equipment and you have a good enough time, your first month playing, 2 weeks playing, like you're sold, you're hooked, right? So
yeah. I mean, and another thing that I've really grown to like here the last 6 months just working here is watching the Powell brothers and what they're doing with speed lacrosse. I think is really interesting. It's essentially just garbage bin lacrosse where it's 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, short field, no gloves, no gear. It's just a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball and you're just flying around. And I think that's really cool. And I think more little stuff like that is cool. More pickup games, more ways that people can just come together and play is better. Because right now, the only way to really play lacrosse is through a very organized, very set field schedule. It costs money. You got to get the goals and all that kind of stuff. So I think kind of like more that pickup aspect, that more light mini goal kind of thing, I think that's really important for those areas as well. Not just focusing on like these big tournaments and these big club teams and all this stuff. Like make it small, make it accessible.
Yep. Agreed. Not to derail us, but I don't know if your phone is handy, but look at Jeremy Noble dropping in the DMs. Asking if we have any balls around. Love to see it.
I mean, we've got some a bunch of those MLL balls, those orange ones. I don't know if he's looking for that.
I don't know what you've been doing recently on our socials, but the pro presence we've had has very much grown. Yeah, we got followed by 3 or 4 pro athletes, MLL, PLL, both. Like,
I don't know what's going
on. Jeremy Noble's DMing us. I mean,
it's popping off. I've just been posting a lot of highlights and stuff too, just because like I think that's something people need right now is just to see cool stuff, and a lot of that stuff's hard to find. But luckily, I've been in the game for 15 years now, so I remember a lot of these crazy plays, and I can find them and record them and throw them up on the gram every now and then. So
yeah, we're tiptoeing the line too of doing just fully what ESPN is doing and dropping the most obscure. On this day, 12 years ago,
dude,
like blah, blah, blah happened. I'm getting so sick of that.
I'm so close to posting a Conbro chill video. Like I'm days away. I'm so close to doing that.
We need to, man, one of these slow months or one of these slow podcast episodes, we need to get Connor Martin on the podcast because he would be incredibly interesting
Chapman
to talk
College,
to.
Yeah, he does like music now. He's got like a band. Like
first MCLA to pro lacrosse player. No, he's like makes commercials.
Oh, does he?
Like he's like a commercial director.
Oh, dude, that's sick. Yeah, Chapman's got a nuts film school. The guys who made Stranger Things went there, the brothers. So I think the Russos did too.
We'll reach out to Conbro.
Conbro chill, man. I know all that a couple of the songs I can recite from heart.
He was a musician?
Yeah, they did a lot of music stuff back in like 2012-ish, 2011.
Is that the wave for those early lacrosse players? Like Mikey Powell now taking off on the complete music career.
Dude, Mikey Powell's just like jamming out in coffee shops in central New York and just living his best life. Like it's so incredible.
John Grant Jr. has proven this to me. If Mikey Powell suited up, honestly, if Casey Powell suited up and played 6 games in 1 week, he puts up 30 points.
Like easily. Just so crafty.
Right? Mikey, It would depend on Mikey's because he was such a smaller like speed guy. But
So
Casey,
fast, so quick. Yeah,
Casey and John were very similar. Like just bully people and score goals.
Yeah, man. I think just also the level of respect they would get. Like if you watch
Right?
old like Paul Gate and Gary Gate videos when they were still in the MLL with those terrible face masks. I don't know why those ever existed.
Oh, we need to talk about Paul's Gate face mask before we get out of here.
But like essentially like no one was hitting them. Like they just it was like the Michael Jordan effect. Like just everyone was scared to hurt them, so they just like let them like exist and get shots off and stuff. I mean, they're still getting hit, but not the same way. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, if you look at the goal that John Grant Jr. scored to break Paul Rabel's record, I know a lot of people were mad that the defense was not up to par.
Yeah.
On that final goal, but it's like the kid guarding him, probably my age, and if I've got literally the top 3 best lacrosse players of all time backing me down, I'm probably not trying to get embarrassed either.
No, for sure. Like you can't like because what's gonna happen? Either you're gonna blow him up and look like a jerk, or you're just gonna get wrecked and you're gonna be that guy in the history books. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before we leave, the Paul Gate face mask.
Oh my God.
Did we get any kind of?
Was it Paul or Gary? I forget. I tweeted it. Let me look.
I think it was Paul.
Okay.
I think.
It was like the 2001 like MLL championship game, I think.
It's a Cascade mask, so we need to get Billy Bitter. We need to get in touch with Billy Bitter for the first time in months and ask what on earth is going on with the face mask.
I have no idea. Like it was Paul Gate. I just pulled it up, and it had like a plastic like throat guard. It wasn't, and like a clear plastic throat guard.
Right.
Oh
and there's
God.
no visibility in that thing. Like a ball probably couldn't fit through. I think that's the only thing it has going for it.
It's like a rainbow. Now that I'm looking at it again, it's the weirdest shape I've ever seen.
Yeah, and also I've never seen anybody else wear that. You look at like other even guys that were in like the summer showcase and stuff around that time. Like John Grant wasn't rocking that. Our boy Lauren Smith wasn't rocking that. Like why? What?
I guess you get a little bit more peripheral view. But like not much. It's more like a box helmet, kind of.
Yeah, it's like a hybrid box helmet. Sorta.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and unless it was custom, like that'd be cool.
It had to have been, right?
I've always wanted to get rid of the middle bar on the top half of the face mask and just get those a little tighter together. I don't think it's ever gonna happen, but like more like a football helmet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or like a knight. Yeah,
right.
That would be probably dangerous though, because you could fit a head through there.
I mean, visor, baby, you could stick a visor in there.
Oh, speaking of Casey Powell, the Casey Powell visor picture.
That's one of my favorite pictures of all time for lacrosse.
If you want to sell somebody on lacrosse, just show them that picture. Be like, this could be you.
This could be you.
And also, this could be your little brother. And then you show Mikey Powell doing a front flip and hitting a goal.
And almost scoring. And he drilled the guy in the face on that shot. I think they're playing UMass.
Wait.
I'm thinking of the one in the dome when he was in college. Out of the timeout, he did a front flip and then shot and just drilled the defender in the face. And it just went out the back.
How confident in your ability do you have to be to just hit a front flip in a game? I don't even know the clip you're talking about. I'm talking about the just all-star game.
Oh, he did it in the game, dude. They were in the dome. They were playing like UMass in like the late 90s, and he like literally out of bounds play, he walked in, did a front flip, and sidearmed it right into a guy's face. How have you never seen this clip? It's wild.
No, I don't know. I probably have, but it's not ringing any bells.
Yeah, man. It's one of those things where you're so good at something that you just get bored and you just try something. You know what I mean? Like you literally just don't care.
Right. Also, speaking of the DMs popping off, we got Boston Cannon's goalie hitting us up, Nick Morocco, for the podcast. Have to hit him back, see if we can get something figured out towards the end of the year, towards the end of the month rather, talk about the season.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on some big guests, talking about that, kind of teasing ahead. We've got a couple D1 guys in our back pockets and a couple Div 3 head coaches that we're going to try and talk to here soon. So, a lot of guests here for the Lacrosse podcast. Thankfully, because it's a small community, we can get away with that kind of stuff more than maybe the baseball podcast trying to DM Terry Francona. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you were a little tot playing lacrosse, like in 6th grade, did you ever anticipate interviewing the pro players? Did you ever think you would talk to John Grant Jr. in a conversational setting?
No, or Tillman or any of these guys are freaking, oh man, it's crazy. And like they're all so nice.
It's pretty sick.
It's so laid back and just like, yeah, let's talk about Lax. Let's hang out. It's cool.
You want to talk about grow the game? It absolutely starts with guys like that.
Oh,
the
100%.
guys that, in like Mark Millen a couple months ago when we talked to him, like who've given so much to lacrosse, and it's like, yeah, I just have this knowledge now. Like he was even saying, it's like, I don't play that much anymore. Like I've done what I need to do from the physical side, but it's like I want kids to get better and like doing what he can. Like that's what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. It's giving back to this community, and I think the cycle of people who used to play are now having kids, and those kids are going to have to grow up being around the game way more than we were. You know what I mean? Like, that's just such an advantage. Like when you're 6 years old and you already know how to cradle, as opposed to like showing up to high school and having no idea how the mechanics work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The problem too is like you look at, just trying to think of other sports that have gone mainstream in the U.S., like basketball and like culture just had such a revolution like in the 80s and 90s, and that's what made like the NBA what it is. And like apart from just Michael Jordan, one transcendent player, like there was so much surrounding that. And going back to the kind of like stigma around lacrosse, I think once it becomes more inclusive or more like rooted in a culture that's positive and growing and you know, exciting to be a part of and like something people want to be a part of, that's when you see this huge growth. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to get away from, unfortunately, guys like Rabel that are at DeMatha, you know, and these big prep schools. Maybe you're at like a St. Paul, which is like $60,000 a year to go to high school. Like it's got to get away from those certain, you know, those kinds of programs and get more into, you know, not like the commoner, but the more, you know, everyday kind of person. It's got to get away from the rich white kids who live in the suburbs of Baltimore, right?
You can say the public school kids. I'll take that sword.
No,
we won't
for sure.
be offended.
I think that comes off wrong a lot of the times because that turns into more of a class thing and a race thing at times, especially for lacrosse. But it's just so ingrained in sort of like white prep boy culture in the last 20, 30 years. And before that, it was like a Native American sport, and it had this much more deep, rich history. So there's almost like this divide between what it became over the last 30 years and what it used to be, you know, in its beginning. So that's why I'm such a big proponent of, you know, the history of the game and the natives and what it comes from and what it means and the creator and all that stuff. Like I think that's really important because it has a story, right? Like I think that draws certain types of people in, and I think that's important to have.
And it's going to be colossally important once lacrosse hits the Olympics again, and there's actually the venue to tell that story, right? Like assuming they don't fumble the bag with these Olympic lacrosse rules. Like that's the opportunity to.
The rules are ridiculous, but like, can you imagine like Mike Tirico and Bob Costas like explaining the history of lacrosse to like millions of people on an NBC broadcast? Like that's crazy. Like
I'd even be fine if Bob Costas had his pink eye like he did in Sochi.
Oddly specific Olympics reference, but.
Oh, if you watch the Olympics, you know, people know that reference.
I'm not a big Olympics guy. Michelle Beadle used to be on it. I like her, but otherwise, not a big Olympics guy.
How are you not an Olympics guy? The Olympics is the best.
Team sports. I like team sports. I don't really like individuals that much.
Oh, dude, no, that's your peak athlete who runs the fastest, throws the farthest, jumps the highest. That's all you need to know.
Not for me. I need a ball or puck for me personally. I don't disrespect those people. I think they're incredible, but I'm a ball and puck guy.
I'm going to blow your mind. There are balls and pucks in the Olympics.
Yeah, but they're also like skiing, cross country, and shooting things. Like it's a weird.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No.
The modern pentathlon, do not hate on the modern pentathlon.
I can't do 3 weeks of that. That's too much.
The biathlon, where it's just skiing and shooting, that's winter, but still.
Too much.
No, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Your take about the Olympics is just wrong.
All right. Thanks.
All right. We've been all over the place. We're reaching the half-hour mark, which I think is about an appropriate time. Shotgun choice for the PLL and the MLL. Who is your champion come mid-August in both leagues?
Hammerheads for life, always.
Okay.
Respect.
Yep.
They've got Kraus, right? Yeah, big Hammerheads guy. I mean, PLL, dude, I mean, who stops Rambo in a finals? You know what I mean? Dude's too big.
I mean, maybe 16 games in 16 days stops Rambo.
No, Rambo's too big, man. He's going to get stronger the more he gets beat up on. I still think the Whips or Woods are the best two teams for sure.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm gonna delineate from you. Love the Hammerheads because they're the ex-Rattlers, but at the same time, dislike the Hammerheads because they're the ex-Rattlers.
That's a love-hate.
I love the Outlaws because of the Friends of the Program. But at the same time, like, Bryce Wasserman, also a friend of the program. Nick Morocco, soon to be friend of the program from the Boston Cannons. Give me the Cannons. Give me the Cannons dark horse because I know the Outlaws are expected to be really good. So, give me the Cannons and... Yeah, the Ship Snake's pretty good, huh? Give me the Chaos. I'm embracing the Chaos. Give me the Chaos.
All right. Newman guy.
They were good.
All right.
Yeah, give me the epic guys. Well, I guess Rambo's a whip snake epic guy. Give me Jared Newman putting up the game-winning two bomb in Utah to win the game.
Utah, give me 2 bombs.
Yes, sir. High altitude, those bombs gonna be flying.
Zing.
Cashed. All right, we're back again next week with what is it? Outer Roll Goalie Monkey Podcast. Absolutely, that's what it is. On the Monkey Sports Podcast. You know any hockey goalies out there? Get them over here. Monkey Sports Podcast. That big subscribe button on anywhere you get your podcasts. Promo code podcast 10. Hank, you getting any gear before the next season starts up?
Before the next season of Lacrosse happens?
Before the next season of Lacrosse happens?
There's some gloves sitting at the office, I believe, might be coming home with me soon. Certain USA pattern. And this Burn More Pro 2 is pretty gnarly, so that might be the gamer coming forward.
Let me tell you, those Warrior gloves, here now.
But top secret, but are themed around a certain country.
Ooh, buddy, let me tell you, those Indonesian Warrior gloves are nuts.
Big Filipino national team Warrior gloves we've got at home.
Well, hey, Hank, if you need anything else, lacrossemonkey.com, promo code podcast10. Just in case you needed spelling, PODCAST, the number 1010, 10% off your entire order. Take advantage. We'll be back.
Wear your mask.
For some monkey business.
Please wear your mask.
Wear your masks so we can get a PLL and MLL season. We'll be back the 31st of July and the 6th of August. MLL players, PLL players, everybody giving us their experiences from Annapolis, Maryland, and not Salt Lake City, but somewhere near Salt Lake City, Utah. We'll see you then.